Yes, team, welcome to another episode of the Jake O'Connor, the High Functioning Addiction podcast. Today, I've got a special guest. Grant's been a client of mine now for probably about 12 months or approaching, and we've done some incredible work together. And Grant has lived a life that many of you are probably either living or have lived or are experiencing right now. So, Grant, welcome to the podcast, mate.
No, thanks for having me, mate. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. So for the people that don't know you, I want you to kind of introduce yourself and tell them, like, who are you and what do you do?
So, mate, my name's Grant Kennedy. I've been a coach for, mate, I always find this mad, see, when I say it now, because it is literally almost half my life. Oh, it's mental, mate. So, I've been a coach for like 16 years, and I've started off doing one-to-one PT about 15, 16 years ago. Done that for about, God knows, 8, 9 years, up until I was around about 30. Then took the punt, because it got hit that point where you get comfortable. Was doing one-to-one PT, it was easy, it was fully booked, like, it was just always just tick the boxes. And then me and Ross, who you've spoke to, my old business partner, we get a gym, built a successful gym in Glasgow. Started to realise that I probably wanted to travel and see. It was actually during COVID, and we actually done really well through COVID. See, in the gym, we actually done really well, but it was the first time, which we'll probably talk about more here. Like, see, COVID, see, I'd been work, where I'd never actually see, because see, when we get the gym, I'd never had the opportunity to actually stop because of the hours we worked. And I remember, like, there was 2 weeks into COVID, and I was talking to Ross, and I was like, mate, something mad's happening here. And he's like, what? And I was like, I feel like I've been reborn. Because, like, we started actually, like, going to bed at a decent time, getting up at a decent time. I was getting up at 4:30 most days. So, like, and it was starting to, like, it was almost like clarity was starting to come to me. And, like, so during COVID, I'd been up at 32 or something at that time. And I think I started to realise, I'm like, so many things I want to do in my life here that actually my business at the time was pretty much guaranteeing that I could never do them. So, like, went through a big transition, like, invested in, like, a couple of mentors, started to move the business online. Then just before I went travelling, I met my fiance Shannon. We've been together nearly 4 years. Get a son, Arlo, who doesn't sleep ever. So, like, I'm in a weird, like, we were even chatting before this, like, I'm in a, like, if my son's 9 months old, and it's been like this last 9 months probably been the biggest, like, changes in how I view myself, how I view so many different things with having him, with business, with doing the stuff with you, and it's been very eye opening.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And I mean, even since we've been working together, you've made a huge transition, even in how you show up, your identity, and the direction in which you're going. So I want to kind of like work on a timeline here. And I want to kind of like start from the beginning, because you say you've been doing PT online. You've been doing a PT now for like 16 odd years, right? So what made you want to get into that?
Mate, do you know, I always remember, see, when I was young, I don't know what it was, right? I always remembered, like, I just this weird thing where I just always wanted to see other people do well. It was strange, see, for a young age. And I always liked seeing people, like, pushing themselves. And it was something I always had in my mind, like, see what anything I done. I don't know where it came from. I've no idea. But it was always just like, if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability. And I always had this thing in my head, I'd never give up. I don't know, I've no idea still where this came from. And when I was so I was maybe 20, I was in a, actually, this is a story, I don't even know if I've told you this. Like, when I was 20, like, I'd done a lot of, like, just standard jobs, and I was a scaffolder. And I remember, like, you won't know what the Arches is. The Arches is basically a club in Glasgow, right? It's really famous. It gets shut down. Basically, people just go and take eckies, like, or pills. It's just like a famous dance club.
Classic.
I'd been at the Arches at the weekend, and I was sitting on a roof. Funnily enough, where Shannon's from in Govan. I was sitting on a roof, like, on my break, and it was pissing with rain. And I remember, like, sitting, and I was like, no, this cannot be it. And I remember, like, I was sitting with my cousin, who he was like my boss, and I stood up and I was like that to him, I'm away, mate. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm done. And mate, I just left and I just quit my job. And, like, I was lucky I still stayed with my mum at the time. And I just that a thing in my head where I was like, what am I going to do next? And I knew I liked sport and I knew I liked helping people. And that was, mate, I just went with it. And, like, I went back to college and uni. Well, actually, I went back to college because I had to do hires to get into uni. And I kind of knew what I needed, and I got a conditional offer based on, I think I needed 2 hires, and I can't remember what mark I needed, and it was actually quite funny because then I got that 2 days before the UEFA Cup final, when Rangers got to the UEFA Cup final years and years ago.
Okay.
And one of them, my last exam was on the day of the final, but I knew I had passed the other two, so I just patched the last one and just went to the FA Cup final. And then that was kind of the start of the journey, where it was
Yeah.
just like I went to uni, I done sport and exercise science. Through my course, and they don't do this now, but I got like my level three as it is. I got that through my course, and then I just kind of took the punt and just jumped in and started straight away.
Nice, nice. And obviously you share your story on social media about it and the drinking and stuff. Were you going through that period of your life when you transitioned from working in that club to being a PT?
It's weird, like I actually stopped drinking like probably quite a lot for about maybe 6, 7 years.
Okay. What during that time?
Yeah, yeah. So like, see
Okay.
when I went to uni and stuff, I was still going odd night out and stuff, but never really. And then like I noticed like it kind of like I started going out a lot more. Maybe when I was like 27, probably I actually split up with my ex at the time, and it was probably just like a natural thing. And then that's more like where the story started. See the constantly going out and like taking gear every single weekend without fail. Like that's when that started, and it was one of the things where like it just started, and like, I never really thought much of it until we got the gym, and then suddenly like the see when I was a 1-to-1 PT at that point, that's what I mean. It was just so comfortable, so I could kind of get away with that, like because I knew where clients were coming from. It was fine, and then as we get the gym, that's when like the stress ramped up, pressure ramped up, because suddenly you don't just need like 20 to 25 clients, you need 4 times that to fill a gym.
And I want to just I want to just kind of like go on something that you just said there about when your responsibility increased, your want or need for the substances and stuff actually began to decrease because it was obviously a realization, right? You were like, right, I can't be fucking around here. But I wanted to kind of put a pin in that because there's going to be a lot of people listening that are like maybe in that position where they're in a comfortable job, they're getting their salary, they guaranteed their money coming in each month, and there's not that level of discomfort or maybe accountability for if I have a messy weekend, that's going to mess up my following week, which is then going to mess up my business and then this and that. So, like, if you rewind back to that time of you kind of being comfortable in air quotes as a PT in a gym, like knowing where your clients are coming from, like, what advice would you give your younger self going through that difficult period, knowing that the money was kind of essentially guaranteed and not having any, I suppose, accountability might be the right word? What advice would you give him?
Mate, I think see something that I've learned like through progressing and doing better. Like I think people become so attached to money, and like that I genuinely don't think money makes you happy. And I think that a lot of people, like for me, like in my job at that point, like I just wasn't happy. I was too comfortable. I'd been doing the same thing for ages. I'd stopped pushing myself. And I think that was a huge thing. Like, see, understanding, like, because you know the old classic, like, stuck in a rut. And like, I remember, like, there was a day I was trying to read about why I was stuck in a rut, and I read a great thing. It said, "Stuck in a rut is just basically stop trying." And mate, see, for me, it was almost like something just went in my head where I'm like, "You have just stopped trying." Like, I achieved a lot of like good fitness goals. I just stopped in terms of like my own progression as a PT. Like, I just got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm comfortable, and just stopped. Like, even my own like my personal development, I just stopped doing it. So I think for me, it was that it's like that. Like, if I could look back, I would say like if it was anybody advice to me, I would never stop personal development or like pushing yourself just because you have like an element of success. Because I think, see, when you do that, I think you can end up back
Yeah, yeah.
where you
Do you,
started very quick.
yeah, and do you think that you actually stopped the personal development because you were successful or because you were in the midst of an addiction?
Mate, so I think like see, it's hard. It's so hard to say. I think even that like see, I don't like. I probably like. I never realised like until probably we worked together like how much an addictive personality you can have, and like in terms of like you don't realise that why you're doing things. Because see, even like see when I would go out every single weekend, I didn't really think it was a problem. I just thought it was like standard.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Aye, like, and I think it's only until I like, and I think when I done the year off of booze, that totally changed my perception of it. And even now, like I don't have the same like. I remember I would hate myself. Whereas, like, see if I have a night out or something now, I don't hate myself the same way because I think when you deal with internal, it totally changes your perception on everything.
Well, there's something called the mirror principle, and it's your internal world reflects your external world. And it sounds like to me, the difference between the Grant back then and the Grant now is that you have self-love and you actually understand like you've endured some pain in the past, like we all have, and that's okay. Like we all experience problems and barriers and obstacles, but the difference is actually you understanding that, cool, well, I'm good internally, so my external world is now going to be okay as well. And that's the big difference that I can see anyway.
Totally, mate. I think that's a massive thing, and like when I think about I think about it now, and I think about like the way I was like if I went out and the way I do now, like whereas like, I'm pretty chilled now. It's just like I'll be tired for a few days. It's fine. It's cool. Whereas before it was like this is the end of the world. Like you're like in like the stuff you would like you wouldn't say it out loud, but the stuff you would say to yourself internally is wild. Like you would literally like hate yourself.
Yeah, well, whenever someone experiences negative self-talk, I get them to write it down on a piece of paper, and they'll write down like I hate myself or whatever the words are. And then once they've listed out that list, I then say, cool, do you have like a kid or like a younger sister or a cousin or something that's young, maybe like 7 to 10 years old? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I've got someone. Like, all right, cool. Well, I want you to go and read that to them tonight. And they're like, no, I can't. So why are you any different? Like, why is your self-talk different to how you will speak to someone else? We can be our own worst enemy, but we can be the kindest person to the other people. So that's a really good tool for someone that's kind of having negative self-talk and actually understand like, shit, I wouldn't even speak to someone that I know like that. So why am I speaking to myself?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. So that's kind of when you started your PT journey, going from PT to running your gym. When did things get bad?
Mate, I would say that the moment where I was like, I need to do something different here, I would say, see, the whole time through the gym, it was like, probably, I would say, probably through the gym, like, just through having to work so much. Like, we didn't really have that much time in our hands. So, like, I went through phases where, like, I would go on a night out, then just avoid. And then, like, I remember, like, coming towards the end of COVID, I had a few big nights out and stuff. And was it a golf outing after it? And I knew at that point, I'd made the decision. I was like, I'm shutting this gym. And at that point, it was almost like sink or swim. Because I was like, if you're doing this, you need to do it right. And because I knew I wanted to move online, build an online business. And that was when, like, for me, I was like, and looking back, it was probably a knee jerk reaction to feeling shit. I actually recorded my own podcast about like setting goals when you're rough, just saying, don't do it. Like, you'll set stupid goals. And it was that moment where I was like, I'm going to do a year off the booze. And everybody just laughed. Like everybody was just like, save yourself the hassle. Because I'd done 90 days and stuff, booze free, pretty regularly. And it was like, fine. Like you felt good. Like you would make a bit of progress, but you would end up just getting backwards eventually. And I'd kind of looked and I was like, something about the year that always spoke to me. And that was the point where we were on a big night out. No, we were on a golf holiday. It got pretty mental. And I was just like, I'm going to just commit to this right now. And then just went on like, and it was funny because I knew, see, it was the first time when I'd said anything like that, I knew when I said it on the first day. And I remember saying to me, I was like, I've done this already in my head. Like, I just knew there was nothing that could stop me from doing it. And I think that's probably where people get stuck a lot, is like they'll say they're going to do things, but they're just not fully ready. And I had probably said it quite a lot, but I wasn't ready to do it.
Yeah. And prior to you stopping and you having a year off, when did you know that things were getting bad? So you mentioned that you were a PT, you stopped drinking, and then you opened your gym. So where's the part where you kind of knew you had a problem, would you say?
Mate, see, when I was doing stints with no bevy, I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know what.
So you saw the upside of no drink, so you
Something
compared
right.
that to the drink.
Mate, I would say, see, like internally, I knew, like, see, when you say, like, I knew that something would, like, because I think, like, I was always very much in the mindset, right? See, we like nights out and stuff. I always thought, see, because I could just do 90 days with no booze. I'm like, I can do 90 days, so it's fine. But I remember, like, see, as I was doing more 90 days, I was like, something not right here. Because I knew it was weird. See, if I didn't drink, I felt good, but something didn't feel right. So like, so how would I put that? Like, I felt good physically, but see, like would I almost say, like, see if you were to look at like in the pit of my stomach, I'm like, there's something not right here, and I knew it for so well. Put it this way, I knew it up until, see, when I signed up with you. So that was, I think I signed up with you when Arlo was born, so it's 9 months, bang on 9 months to the now. And I knew, see, at that point, I was like, there's something not right here. And like, I'd been for therapy and stuff. And like, I remember always thinking after it, I still don't fucking feel different here. Like, it's like, I always knew, I'm like, right, cool. Like, you would talk to people and like, people would be like, how does that make you feel? And I'm like, aye, shite. Like, but I didn't see it. I'm like, but I don't feel like I'm moving past stuff.
Yeah, I just want to kind of interrupt there as well. Sorry, but I think that's a really important point about other therapies and other approaches. Obviously, you've experienced the cognitive hypnotherapy approach, which is myself and everyone and the team, right? But what do you know what kind of therapy that you went to in the past?
Mate, so I'd done a wee bit of NLP and stuff, and that was good at the time. And then I'd done like some sort of just talking therapy, which I thought that was like. I remember, I think I'd done an exercise where I had to like write my feelings and read it out. And when I was doing it, I was like, this just feels so weird. Like, cause like, see, when I was doing it, I was like, nothing's happening here.
Yeah, it's not solution based.
I was like, I'm just telling you how I feel. Like for me, like I'm like, I don't know if that's just a guy thing, but I'm like, I'm aware I feel shit. Like, but I would ideally like to not feel shit, and I don't. And I was a bit like, nothing you can say here is going to convince me that reading this letter to you is going to stop that from feeling shit. And it was right. I was just like, this isn't working.
Yeah, well, sometimes, mate, talking therapy actually reinforces the problems. With the cognitive hypnotherapy, it's solution based. So you don't just talk about the problems. Obviously, you need to get an understanding of it, but you don't just talk about it. You then actually use an intervention or a technique to actually resolve it.
Yeah.
That's the key thing, right? And I see it time and time again. Like, actually, some people come to me having been to therapy actually worse off than when they started because it just reinforces the problem. And it's like when you talk about the same thing over and over and over and over again, you just get sick and tired of it and you don't want to talk about it.
Mate, that's what I felt like. I was like, I don't know why. I was like, I don't know why I'm talking about this yet again.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's a really important topic because a lot of people will try lots of different approaches and there's so many different therapeutic approaches out there now. Like, yeah, there's a mixture. But as you know, with Cog Hip, is actually the difference is that's what they've done. They've integrated lots of different therapies to make one. And it's about meeting the client in their model of the world and not just talking about the problems, but actually providing solutions to that as well. So yeah, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to understand what therapy you went to and kind of what worked and what didn't. So yeah, so you mentioned that you felt like shit. You went to therapy, and then what happened?
Mate, so I've done this on and off for years, and like like so for example, when I done NLP, like I actually felt like I made like progress through that, but it was dead. Like it was quite like sporadic through the years. So like I was like making changes and stuff, but when I went for the talking therapy after that, that was, I would almost say I got a bit disillusioned because I was just like, what's the point of speaking to somebody else? And at that point, I'd went all in on now building the online business, right? So again, this is probably another time where I was like, there's something not right here. I knew my dream in life was to travel South America, right? And I remember I got on a flight to Rio and I was like, I fucking completed it. Like, this is it. I am living the dream. Like, business was online. And I remember when I was there, I could not, like, it was very hard to enjoy. Because I like, and this is obviously, it just felt like I couldn't switch off. I couldn't stop. And like, I had been led to believe that, see, working for yourself, that's what it should be like. You're just always on. You can't ever switch off. Like, you're always responding to messages, emails, all these different things. But it was almost like just a constant feeling of being on edge all the time. And there was so many moments when I was away where I'm like, I'm not even enjoying this. Like, what is the point in being here? And it was always there, just playing in my head. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I'd spoke to Kieran a couple of times on and off, and it was always like we were like, don't know if there's a problem. There could be, but go and see. So like, I went through a lot of different transitions. Like again, like see doing the year off of booze, I feel like that helped me a lot during that period. And like, I was obviously in South America as I was doing that, so like, there was so many benefits that I could see, like to what I was doing, but still something wasn't right. And I just knew, like, the further I was going down this road, I'm like, there's still something not right here. And it was like, it's not like, I mean, I wouldn't say like there was, it's this thing where like I was like people like, but you feel like chronically depressed or like, it was just something that you just knew.
Yeah, or some form of internal discomfort.
That's it. And it wasn't like a scream, it was just so subtle. or like you would notice like when you're doing certain things. And I think, see, because I've always like my number one like probably value has always been like seeking it inner harmony and like feeling at peace with myself. And that's what I would say I've probably been chasing for a long time. And I felt like I was getting close, and I'm like, there's something. And it was just like gentle, where I was like, there's something just not right. And I think, see, over the last while, that's what I've started to. But we were obviously talking before this about like a lot of different things, but like I'm starting to get towards that and starting to understand the changes that I need to make now to my life to achieve that. And I think that's one of the biggest things. See, like going for therapy and stuff like, and like the type of therapy you're doing. Like I've seen so many people do this. Like you can achieve like peace, but you also need to be willing to do the work because there's a lot of big fucking decisions you need to make. And I think that a lot of people think you go for therapy and it just makes you feel great, and it's like it doesn't.
No,
Like
not at
it
all.
can actually cause a lot, like a like internal discomfort, like because of the things that you need to go and then sort.
Well, the thing is, mate, it's comfortable to avoid. Like, it's comfortable to not face your problems, whether that be emotionally, even physically, mentally, relationships, work, like whatever it is. It's easy to just be comfortable, and that's okay. Like, if no one wants to, if someone doesn't want to face the problems, cool. But I've even experienced it recently with my therapist, and he just drops the hammer every now and again. It's like, fuck, I'm avoiding this. Like, what am I avoiding? And then it's like, it's very uncomfortable. Yeah. But I know that I'd rather choose the path of discomfort to get me one step closer to the life that I want to live than not. That's the important part. How did you know, and how were you aware that you were experiencing discomfort? Like, what were your symptoms for someone that's listening and they're like, well, I'm drinking, I'm doing drugs. Like, I kind of know something's off. Like, my off radar is beeping right now, but I'm not quite sure how or if I even know something's off. Like, how did you know?
See, the best, I think, 'cause you get people in different like different ends of the spectrum. See, when it comes to self awareness, I would say I've probably got like quite high self awareness in the sense like I could pinpoint just that something was off. I would say the things that I noticed was like I had basically done everything right to try and figure out why I was burnt out, and nothing was working. So right away, I'm like, again, that screams to me that something's not right. I would say going through, for me, maybe see that not being 100% sure in yourself. I think that's potentially another thing. Like, see where you get a lot of self doubt, a lot of like fear of other people's opinions. Like for my job, obviously, like doing PT, I remember I used to always get a lot of ideas, but I wouldn't always post what I thought. And it was just these wee things where like you start to realise that you're potentially you more moulded or moulding yourself to like other people's views. And it was like wee subtle things like that. Like it was just simple wee things. Like I would say that I felt highly stressed a lot. And again, I just normalised that as that's what business is like. But I think that what I've realised is like quite often, like when there's maybe not alignment between who you are as a person in business, that's when these things really start to bubble under the surface. And that could be the same for somebody who's maybe they're in a job where they're just so misaligned. But again, see what we spoke about earlier, potentially they're making good money. And there'll be this internal thing where it could be a bit of a scream that you're like, fuck off, I'm not listening to that. And I think it's very easy to ignore things.
Yeah. And not even just in career, in relationships, when you know that something's off and you just sit in it through fear of being alone or putting up with it. In career, when you know that what you're doing is maybe wrong, maybe it's unethical, maybe you're working a wrong job, or maybe you're working in a job that you absolutely hate. And again, it's easier to stay where you are than actually leave, right? So you took the leap and you leaned into it. And that's the difference. So I hear you on that one. With someone that is listening to this and they're like, what Grant's saying is actually resonating with me. Like, it's actually landing. Like, I feel this discomfort. I don't like X, Y, and Z. I have this self-doubt. I drink on the weekends because I work in I've got a successful business that's stressful, and I'm constantly on. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm anxious. I'm this and I'm that. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I honestly like see for me like you need to go and deal with the internal shit that's happening, because I do think I've spoke to more and more guys, right? For example, I was speaking to somebody a couple of weeks ago he's going round in circles, been doing it for years, and we got to the point where he knows exactly what the thing is, and he's just not willing to go there. And I think see, especially like I've watched it a lot. See with guys when it comes to, I could use myself as an example here, right? See if you're a guy, right? See if you wrap yourself up in business or fitness, you can actually look really cool because they're two things where, like, see if you go and like run a marathon, right? People think that's incredible, like because it's a big challenge. Or if you go and like you build a business, but if you know when you're doing it, this isn't right, and you know, and you just know, and it's like, see, instead of trying to like, because it's that whole thing, you can chase validation. And like I see, this is what I see. I now, having been through this process, can, like, you just see it. You can see what people are doing. And I think that's where, like, see, no amount of, like, say, for example, like, you can make more and more and more and more and more money, but the problem will probably just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You can go and, like, do all these fitness goals, whatever it is, the problem will just get bigger. Like, it won't change anything. For me, like, see if you're a guy who actually wants to, like, but I hate saying at peace. It sounds quite cheesy, but see if you want to actually get to being at peace with yourself, at some point you're going to need to, because it's, well, like, I think like we can all watch these inspirational, motivational people, right, who are telling you to push and push and push, but like, I didn't have a problem with pushing. Like, I would have pushed as hard as you ever wanted. I had a problem with stopping and acknowledging what was happening, and that's the thing I would say to people. It's like, at some point you need to stop, and at some point you need to actually acknowledge there's something not right here. And then once you acknowledge it, you need to actually get help for somebody that knows how to navigate it. And I think, see, with that side of things, people have got a lot of fears. And I think what a lot of people like, see, for example, like going and speaking about what's going on internally, like, thought yous are just there to help people navigate the challenge. I think people think their problems are these huge, like, this is, I'm the only person in the world that's ever experienced these problems. And it's like, you're not, mate, trust me. Like, everybody does.
I know, man, I know. And yeah, when we first started working together, that I know for a fact, if I told you to go and do something, you'd go and do it today. Like, you're very hardworking, you're very motivated, you're very ambitious and driven. But sometimes that can also be a hindrance, like you knew. And sometimes my job is to actually help someone put the handbrake on rather than put their foot on the gas. Because you need to slow down to speed up sometimes. And maybe that working hard, well, one thing I see a lot with business owners is that this working hard is just a distraction to what's going on. Oh, I feel shit, I'm going to work harder. I've gone through a breakup, I'm going to work harder. I've done this, I'm going to work harder. I'm going to push harder. I'm going to go, 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 go. And it's just avoidance. That's all it is avoidance. And I was speaking to a guy the other day, and he's from New Zealand. He's built a massive company, and he's worked extremely hard since he was about 18. And he was telling me about his life and everything like that, and we were sat there talking, and I went, kind of just dropped the hammer on him. I went, did you have a point to prove when you were building this big business? He had like sat there for a moment, and he was like, fuck yeah, I was. I wanted to prove X, Y, and Z wrong, and I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do that. And he has worked 100-hour plus weeks, and he's burnt to a crisp, and he wasn't even aware of it because you can't read the label from inside the bottle. So I think that's extremely beneficial for anyone listening. The role of a coach or a therapist is to help you read the bottle, to help you read the label, right? It's to help you understand this is what is going on, and this isn't going to last forever. You're either going to burn out, or you're going to lose everything, or X, Y, and Z. So I think that's some important insights there.
I mean, I think, see something that I've learned, like, see if we can through the process, like, see, unless you deal with your shit, you're never actually going to understand what you want. So, like, see, and this is what I think's funny. So, see if you keep chasing big goals, like, it literally won't change anything, because see if it's not what you actually want, like, deep down, like, it's just going to make it worse and worse and worse and worse. And like, that's seeing through this process thing. I don't know if I said this while we were on live or while it was before it, but like, I would say it's the most uncomfortable, in the sense of like, that I'm having to acknowledge like parts of my life that need changed, where I'm like, fuck, I like, and it is like the resistance to doing it. It's like, I like, there's so much resistance, but I understand it's like, you are going to have to do this, or you're just going to stay in the same. You're just going to go around in that a loop that never stops, and you can try and change everything else around it, or you can just deal with the thing that you know is holding you back for going to that next level. And it's like, it's very uncomfortable. It's very, like, it's hard. Like, I still, even saying it, I still find it hard to wrap my head around. like the things that I need to change. But I understand, and I've looked through, like, see previously through my life with the things that need to happen, and anytime you make a big change, like, you always go to another level.
Yeah.
It just might not feel great.
No, it doesn't. A growth is always hard at the start, messy in the middle, and great at the end. And there's no growth isn't what's the word I'm looking for? Growth isn't a linear thing, right? Like you have like that, and then it's like that, and then it's like that, and then like that. But like mate, as an online coach, like you zoom out on the checking graph and you've made progress. And it's the same for this. I was going to say something about. Oh yeah, there's a book that I presume you haven't read. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because I haven't heard you mention it. It's 10x is easier than 2x. Have you heard of it before?
I don't know.
Cool. I'll send it to you after this podcast, mate. This is all about exactly what you're explaining. That it's easier, it's uncomfortable, but it's so much more beneficial to think 10x, i.e., I don't know, leaving that relationship or building that business or whatever you want to do, rather than that 2x, because that 2x is just comfortable. It's like, I'll have a little bit more, I'll kind of serve a little bit more clients, or I'll do a little bit more, when really the hammer dropping shit is actually where the growth happens, as uncomfortable as it may be. So I'll send you that book after the call, mate. I think it's a really good read.
No, totally. Mate, I think that's it. Like, see, like, I think, see, as well, this is something that I've noticed. See, like, with the 2x thing, like, I think, see, if you're not fully aligned in something, it feels like you can only 2x it. Whereas, see, like, when you get aligned with anything, I think, like, the prospect of, like, 10x and something feels so much easier because it's lighter, because you're like, this is what I want. Whereas, see, if you don't want something, you're like, if I 2x this, that's twice the stress. I don't want twice the stress.
And then imagine 10x, isn't it? The 10
So
times the stress.
you can't even go there.
No, I know. And this is what the 10x thinking is. It's like, all right, cool. Well, this isn't serving me, so I need to cut this off. And that's also important, but it's also scary. It's also scary. You worked as a PT, you set up your own gym. Where are you right now? Like, what's your relationship with drinking? And what would you say the impact has been of you cutting out drink and drugs on your business and on your personal life and as a whole?
So, mate, like, see now, like, I think the thing that do you know what I've learned about myself as a person, right? And I think I was going through the process, because we've spoke a lot about drinking stuff, right? And one of the things that I think I've realised and learned is that, so I've been, trying to think for how long, I've probably, like, drank for all my adult life, right? And I think that, see now, like, one of the things that I've become comfortable with is, like, because I've always went through these, and I think I will give up alcohol fully at one point, completely, but I feel like I'm not fully ready. And I think that there's this weird thing where I'm like, I know I will, but I think, see, what I've learned of myself now is, like, and I think because we spoke a lot about perfection and stuff, and, like, I think a big thing that I took was, like, I don't need to be perfect all the time. Like, I can enjoy a night out, and it's like, when it isn't impacting business and stuff. Like, so to give you an example, see, when I done the year off the booze, I doubled my business that year. Not that, in fact, well more than doubled it. It was like, probably, I would say tripled it. And I think that over the course of, so that was probably in the last 2.5 years, it's gave me a lot of, some of the experiences, like, I've been able to have, some of the things I've been able to do. I've ticked off a lot of bucket list things and stuff. And, like, I know now, like, I'm now going into a new period in my life. And, like, it's funny because I was actually saying this to Shannon, like, see, as I go into this new period, like, so I've got my stag do in about 2.5 months. We're going to Ibiza. And then I've got my wedding, so we've got our honeymoon. And, like, that might be the moment where I go, I'm done now. Because I'm going into a new chapter. Like, I'm going to be doing something completely different. And it's back to that point of starting again. And again, like, see, right now, I'm at that point where I'm a fully booked one-to-one PT where I've just became comfortable. And that's what it feels like. And it's that comfort, almost like I spoke to you about this, like, like, me and Shannon, like, we'll go out and, like, we'll sit and, like, we'll maybe have a bottle of wine with our dinner and all that stuff. And, like, even now, like, look, I don't get the enjoyment for it anymore, because I know that I'm a bit to do something different, and I'm going to evolve and grow and change. And I feel like I would almost say, see, for me to fully move away for everything, that's the evolution that has to happen. And I've known for ages, it's like, when, like, this is the next evolution that has to happen for me to be 100%, because I would say I'm 99.9% sure that the wedding, our honeymoon, will be the last time I drink. I've kind of said it. I'm kind of, like, very comfortable with it, and I've thought it in my head for a while. and it feels like it's like the breaking of that point of of my life up till now. And then like I look at like because I've got a vision of where I want to go moving forward and what I want my life to be like with Shannon, with Arlo, and I know I'm like when I hit that point, it just won't align anymore.
And what do you feel like is stopping you, or what's the kind of internal resistance? Because I know you're kind of saying I want to, like it's not like yeah I'm doing it. So what's kind of keeping you one foot in, one foot out? Would you say?
So what I would say, so this is something that again, like so, see for example, like see my stag do, like I want to go and enjoy it,
Oh, of course, yeah, yeah,
and then things like see me and Shannon actually had a discussion about this. I think about my wedding day, and it's actually funny because we were talking about like see like us growing up, our background, all that stuff, and I was like, I feel like that day, see, 'cause it's like a celebration of like yous, and I'm like, I feel like it wouldn't be like us up until now, like it's almost like that's part of it, and it's been able to go and enjoy it, and like have a good enjoy a good night with people, and I feel like put it this way, if we weren't getting married and it wasn't for the stag and stuff, I would definitely be like, I'm out, I'm done. And I think that's probably even as you see is like when I look at it's probably the last few months, I've been a lot more chilled, probably because I know that it's the end's coming. So like you almost feel like because again, like, I'm kind of if I'm doing something, I want to be all in, and I feel it's almost. I was saying this to Shannon last week. I almost feel like, I can't go all in because I like we've got the stag do, we've got the wedding, and I know I want to enjoy them. So like you're kind of like, oh, I would say almost in limbo land where you're kind of like again what you're saying like you're half in, half out. And for me, like with the next like what would I say evolution of my life, like I know that when I do that, I need to be all in and all in on like where I'm going, what I want to do. Like again, I'm willing to do it because I've been there before. I understand what it takes, what it's like, and it's exciting. Like I would say, it's exciting. Like the next couple of months will be exciting. We like things like the stag do, like all that stuff. Like that will be exciting. But I'm more looking forward to the next evolution and journey because it will be exciting, scary, but it will be exciting.
yeah. And I mean, you mentioned that when you stopped drinking, your business 3x, right? So what's held you back from stopping up until now?
Do you know what's quite funny? See, we were actually see when I was talking to Kieran last week, and this was something like I probably realised. See when I finished doing the year off the booze, me and Shannon we booked Ibiza for the day after, and we all both spoke about it and we're like, oh, it'd be cool to do something like that together. And like I would say that it would have been more a decision based on my relationship than, and it wasn't like not in a sense of Shannon like she never put pressure on me like ever like to drink or anything like that, but it was more like we started like we done that, then we went a couple of on the nice holidays, like we were eating food, nice wine, and almost like it was like a nice we get into like a nice we would I say we were enjoying life. And it's only now where I start to look and reflect back, and I think at that point I probably should have just went, I'm done. And it was probably more again my discomfort. It's saying no, that's not for me.
Why do you feel like you experience discomfort? And this is just a suggestion. What is it that you were afraid of kind of putting Shannon off, or was it you're afraid about what other people think? Like, what was actually the discomfort that you were experiencing?
I think it was because I'd always said I'm only doing a year. And then like we'd almost like prepared for like the stuff we would do at the end. And then it was almost a bit like, fuck, I can't go back in this now. Yes.
I see it a lot. People are like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna stop for like 3 months and I'm gonna go to like Ibiza and then like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And you're a prime example, right? And you don't necessarily have an addiction as such, but this is a prime example for anyone listening. When you set a time scale on something, you set yourself up to just do that time scale, but then you also fall back into your old patterns. Maybe yours weren't as bad, but you're still having a little drink here and there, which isn't an issue, by the way. But the example that I'm trying to get at is, let's say, for example, the person listening wants to stop cocaine and they set a 90-day challenge. I'm not going to do coke for 90 days. And on that 90th day, I'm going to go to Glastonbury, for example. And then they go to Glastonbury and then they fall back into the cycle again and again and again because they've told themselves, I'm only going to do 90 days. And that's a prime example for you. So I just wanted to kind of explain that for anyone listening, because your beliefs and the way that you talk to yourself around addiction, but any area of your life, is so important. And I see people put so much power into the substance itself. Like, it will make me have a good time. It will make me happy. It will make me X. It will make me Y. But the substance doesn't have a mind of its own. You do. You're in control. You can control whether you do it or not. Like, you've just been hoodwinked to think that you don't, but you do. So, yeah, sorry, I just wanted to interject there because I feel like that's an important piece for anyone listening.
Yeah. Nah, totally, mate. And like, when I look back, like, I wish. Nah, do you know? I actually don't wish, because I feel like I've learned a lot of lessons in the process of. I don't even want to say going backwards, because I don't like using that term, because I've learned so much from like trying to rebalance all these things and trying to enjoy different areas of life. And I think that naturally, like, what's happened is it's taught me, would I say it's taught me the lessons I need to learn to be able to go, right, I know that in this next like evolution that I'm going to go on, I know that that's going to need to go. And the good thing is this time I won't. Like, the lesson I've learned is like, and one thing I would say, I'm never going to say I'll never, ever, ever drink again, but I'm going to take this away with no sign of, and then see what happens.
Yeah, and look, you don't need to be sober for the rest of your life, and you don't even need to put any pressure on that. Like, if you want to have a drink, cool. If you don't, cool. But like, I feel like when pressure gets added and you're like, I'm never going to drink again, but then you have a drink and you beat yourself up because you've had a drink, but you told yourself you wouldn't have a drink. And then it's just this constant cycle and it's draining. So I think that's a good move, mate. Just knocking it on the head and just being like, cool. If I have a drink one day, I have a drink one day, but that's okay.
Totally, mate.
Yeah. So kind of getting to the end of the episode now. So I want you to kind of explain, like, where are you right now? Like, for anyone listening that's listened to your journey, that's listened to where you were working in that bar down in Glasgow, jacking it in, becoming an in-person PT, then setting up your gym and then becoming online. I want people to understand the full evolution and the full timeline of the struggles that you've experienced and where you are up until today. Yeah, like, describe your life to me today.
So, mate, like, see, in terms of, do you mean in terms of like business, the changes, like what kind of, and what context do you mean?
Well, as I ask you that question, what comes up?
So, mate, what I was like thinking about was like obviously like the time frames of like everything that's happened. So like that's like a 16-year journey, and then like getting into the new. Like, I'm basically like learning how to do what I'm learning how to do what you do. But no, I'm going on like a similar. I've realised like a lot of my passions towards like the mental side of things, and I think that again deep down I've always known this. If I really 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 thought about it, but it wasn't until we cleared all the shit away that you go, fuck, that's what I'm meant to be doing.
And do you want to explain, like, do you feel comfortable explaining to people, like, what path you're going down?
Aye, so like for me, like I want to like a transition, like currently away from what I'm doing. So like there's in terms of like I look at it more as like like helping people with like I'm not 100% on the exact program yet, because I've basically got a year to decide. So like I've got loads of time, but like I've got a few different ideas, but it'll be along the mental performance route for really driven guys, because like something for me is like I realised like probably while we were going through the process that I'm always fascinated by like how people thought and why people behave the way they do, and how to help people overcome those challenges. Whereas like, well, I always laugh at the example I always give is like when somebody tells me they struggle to eat their breakfast, and I'm like, right. And like I feel now so misaligned to that, and it's been a mad journey in that sense to get to that point. Because like, and it's funny because like, how would I describe it? Like, I still have a huge passion for helping people even now. It's just I just want to change the vehicle that I do it. And like, even out now in my head, like there might be a fitness element to it in the background, because I do think that mental and physical do go hand in hand. I don't think you can have one without the other. I think that to get the best out of both, you need to have like, you need to get yourself in some sort of physical shape and take care of yourself. And for me, like there's going to be a huge, like, the next 12 months. Like, I'm doing obviously the course you done. I'm going to transition into doing something different in that time. It seems fucking mental. Like, I still, even talking about it, I find it hard to wrap my head around. Again, that's what I was talking about earlier. I find it really hard to wrap my head around the fact that I'm going to do it. I think that, again, see, if you want to actually be happy, I think you need to have the balls sometimes to just, would I say, pull apart everything yet? Because I've always been like the fitness guy, the guy who I've achieved every fitness goal you could ever fucking pretty much achieve. So like your identity becomes so wrapped up in that. Like my identity became so wrapped up in the guy who's built businesses, And it's like, but it's just not me anymore. Or it's never, I'm not even going to say it's not me anymore, it's never been me. But you don't understand that until you strip back the layers of like who you actually are.
Yeah. I think that's become apparent from the work that we've done is you've understood like parts of you. And I see it a lot with people that go through the process that I offer. They understand themselves a lot more. And part of that understanding is finding what drives them and what motivates them, and essentially shining a light on the things that people have maybe avoided or maybe knew deep down that they kind of needed to change, but maybe they didn't, or maybe even someone that wasn't even aware of it. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. So Grant's training to be a hypnotherapist as well, which is pretty cool. So it's been such a nice evolution from when you came through the door to where you are now, mate. And obviously we're still working together, and this is just the beginning, mate. Like, we've got you to here. Now we're going to get you to here, and it's just a constant evolution. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see your journey. If there was one final thing that you could share, if you came off this episode and you were like, oh, I wish I said that, it can be anything. What do you think it would be?
Mate, do you know what I would say? So see, when I look at through the course of my life, right, I think you get faced with these moments. And I can think of multiple moments in my life. Like, see, for example, when I was a scaffolder and I just quit my job. It was obviously easier then because I lived with my mum. But like when we got the gym, like I'd never said this, like I took out a loan to get the gym. And I think the thing that I would say is like you get faced with these moments where you know something needs to change. And it's like, I think for me, it's like, do you back yourself in the moments? Because everybody tries to wait until they're ready. Again, I think I've been doing this right now. And it's like, you need to just look back and go, you're never ready. You will never be ready for this. See the minute you get closer and you go to do it, all that happens is self doubt gets higher, the fears get higher, your brain starts screaming, do not do that.
I just want to say a quote that ties in so perfectly to what you just said. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never be ready.
That's it. And it's so simple, mate. Like, and sometimes I hate with stuff like that because I think like you see a lot of cheesy personal development stuff where it's like it does come across a wee bit like corny and a bit like that makes my skin crawl. But when I look at the biggest decisions I've made in my life, every one of them have been terrifying. And that was one thing I did take from therapy in the past, where like they basically drew a timeline and they were like, see, every time you've cut the cord on something, life's get better. So, and that was something where they're like, I can't even remember what that decision was, but it was like, maybe it's time to cut the cord. And that's where I feel like right now it's time to cut cords and start to build the new life that actually is aligned with me.
Yeah, well, whenever you're in a place of stagnation or feeling stuck or needing to exit something, normally there's something much better on the horizon.
Totally, mate.
There really is. Grant, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Where can people find you, mate?
So, mate, on my Instagram, it's Grant Kennedy _ built for success. I'm sure that's the name of my page, mate. But I don't know if that's the actual username.
I'll pop it in the description anyway.
I'm certain it is. But I'm still very active in social media and stuff. Like, it's something that I'll always do. Even as I go through this transition and stuff, I'll never stop posting content because like I just want to realign like the stuff that I'm talking about and where I'm going. On social media, like I've got Facebook as well, like Grant Kennedy. I've got an email list and all that as well. Like that, you'll see all that stuff popping up. But that's where to find me.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for jumping on, mate. And really proud of the journey and the process that you've been through, and excited to see where you can go.
No, I appreciate it, mate. It was class.
Cool. Thanks, bro.
Cheers, mate.